After the initial response of she's been quote unquote kidnapped, people were waiting for a ransom. Well, that seems to have all fizzled.
That's former FBI Special Agent in Charge Steve Huber, who spent nearly 30 years with the FBI, offering one of the clearest theories yet about what may have happened to Nancy Guthrie, who vanished from her Arizona home. And according to Huber, the fact that no ransom demand has materialized in a credible way could point investigators toward a completely different scenario. Instead of a carefully planned kidnapping, this case may actually be something far more chaotic.
Someone came to the house to break in. She either opened the door, they knew she lived there alone, they didn't expect her to open the door. Either that, or the door was open and they were in, because to date there's been no indication of a break-in, and she was asleep and woke up. Either way, the people who broke in were surprised by her and felt they couldn't leave her as a witness.
Huber believes the most likely scenario could be a break in that spiraled out of control. In situations like that, suspects may never have intended to kidnap anyone, but once they're confronted by a witness, the situation can escalate extremely quickly. Investigators often see cases where a burglary turns into something far more serious simply because the suspects panic.
I would argue that a majority of these cases, that's usually what happens. I'm just picturing a single person breaking in and having to deal with her and being able to pull this off by himself.
Another key point Huber raises is the possibility that more than one person was involved. In many home invasion cases, suspects operate in pairs or small groups, especially if the plan originally involved burglary. Having multiple people involved can make it much easier to quickly remove someone from a property and leave the scene before neighbors or authorities become aware. Reports surrounding the investigation mention signs of a struggle inside the home and blood near the front door, which could indicate that Nancy Guthrie did not leave voluntarily. If that theory is correct, investigators would likely be looking for a vehicle used to transport her away from the home, which becomes one of the most important pieces of evidence in cases like this. But identifying that vehicle can be extremely difficult, especially depending on where the crime happened.
When you come to Arizona, you've got a lot of wide open space, desert area, and not as many cameras.
Huber says geography may be one of the biggest obstacles investigators face. Unlike major cities where cameras cover nearly every street corner, large areas of Arizona are incredibly remote, with long stretches of road that have little to no surveillance coverage. That means someone could leave a residential area and within minutes be driving through wide open desert roads with virtually no cameras capturing their vehicle. Even doorbell cameras, which are extremely common today, often only capture a front porch or driveway, not the roadway itself. Because of that, investigators often have to look much farther away from the scene to find useful surveillance footage, like traffic cameras, gas stations, or shopping centers along major roads. And that process can take an enormous amount of time.
If there was multiple people, you try to find the weakest link, and it's going to take someone to call in that knows what happened.
According to Huber, the most realistic way cases like this are solved is not always through technology, but through people. Investigators often focus on what they call the weakest link in a group involved in a crime. That might be someone who participated in the event, someone who helped afterward, or even someone who simply heard about what happened. As time goes on, people involved in crimes can begin to make mistakes, talk to others, or behave in ways that attract attention. And with the reward for information in this case reportedly rising to $1 million, investigators are hoping that someone with knowledge of what happened eventually decides to come forward. In many major investigations, it only takes one credible tip to completely change the direction of a case.
Nancy Guthrie was taken south of the border. Do you subscribe to that theory?
Do I subscribe to that theory? I wouldn't rule that theory out.
One of the theories circulating online is that Nancy Guthrie may have been taken across the border, but Huber says investigators have not seen strong evidence supporting that idea so far. Cross-border cases are extremely complex, and moving someone across an international boundary without detection would require a very specific set of circumstances. For now, investigators appear to be focused on following thousands of leads that have come in since the disappearance, especially after the reward for information increased. And as Huber points out, the answer may ultimately come down to one person who knows exactly what happened and finally decides to speak up. So what do you guys think about the situation? Comment below and let me know, and subscribe to this channel for the latest entertainment news.